What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Lionel Jinx. I'm
all by the teams at 2K and Visual Concepts.
We're here to play 2K22.
And this year, we're introducing the WWE 2K22 ringside reports, patches, and other updates. 22, you might see some massive differences from previous cycles. And this is the best looking game yet. Just a little
pretty.
bit.
It's so pretty. Superstars, in any WWE game are the backbone of the game, right? And so we have to make sure that we are doing our absolute best on representing every superstar to the best of our ability. Backed on the same technology that you guys saw in NBA 2K 22, where you look at their players and the details and just the likenesses look amazing. And so like the cross polarization scans, improved hair, just to me the amazing amount of detail that you'll see in our superstars is unparalleled. Lighting is everything, right? So like all of these details and everything that we poured into our superstars wouldn't mean anything if they weren't lit properly, right? And so if you take a look at this version of the game, and a lot of that is due to lighting.
And before I forget, there's also a ton of new and improved championships as well. And it's the team I work with most closely is the environments team. There are over 55 playable arenas, and we also have virtual crowd boards in the game as well. So you might see some familiar faces.
Oh yeah, not my ugly mug.
All right.
So at this point, one of the things we very intentionally called out to our fan base is that we have a redesigned gameplay experience. And starting with Jason, can you talk about what that means to you and how gameplay hits different?
In WWE 2K22, we have a completely new animation system. This system has allowed us to greatly improve the look and the feel of the characters. Basically, everything from the way the characters move and they traverse through the world to how they align with each other during attacks has been completely overhauled and redone. Players are going to notice a significant difference the moment they pick up the controller. The characters are way more responsive than they've ever been. You no longer feel like you're fighting to control your character to get them into position to do what you want them to do. Strikes, dives, springboards, they all connect more precisely. And that's also something that we really struggled with and took to heart and tried to resolve this year. Another key change that we've made to the game engine this year is our physics system. While the series has always had Havoc to some degree, it was primarily used for only hair and cloth simulation. For 2K22, we've completely integrated Havoc into gameplay, which has allowed us to introduce things like breakable props. The kendo stick starts to fray the more you use it. Tables, they break more dynamically. The chair even breaks. And even elements within the environment itself are now dynamically breaking, such as like the corner barricade, instead of relying on a canned sequence animation. It's a really big change and has helped to make the entire gameplay experience feel more dynamic.
Awesome. Derek, same question.
So for me, when we sat down to figure out how we were going to change gameplay for 2K22, one of the biggest things that we put as a priority beforehand. But another big priority for us with that is making sure we're not, smoothing over a lot of the details that returning fans like. So all of the high level of control that you expect to have with your character, all of the high degree of customization you expect, all of that still remains. So light attacks, those are your quick strikes, the fastest attacks in the game. Heavy attacks, those are kind of like strong strikes from previous years. They're bigger, slower strikes, but they deal more damage. And then finally, grapples. Those are where some of the bigger changes come into play. So you press the grapple button once to lock up with your opponent, but then from there you can press light, you can press heavy. Those will do your light and heavy grapples, but there's all sorts of other options. Irish whips, drag, carry, all of those things come from the grapple state. So once you grapple your opponent, you have a lot of possibilities opened up to you.
Okay.
Like the combos that we assign, we also support customizing combos. I'm personally really excited to see what cool combos our community creates.
Okay, very quickly, I want to take it back to one point that Derek touched on earlier, which was about the accessibility of this game and being able to just pick it up and play. And I want to call this out mainly because I myself am a much newer player to WWE 2K. So for me, picking up and playing has been the whole experience. The controls are super easy to learn. And while my own habits fall back on button mashing the controller, even though we have that, I enjoy having to be very strategic and intentional about how I'm approaching this game, especially when it comes to the timing of things like reversals or finishers. So I can definitely attest to, hey, if you're feeling intimidated by this, please don't. Pick it up, try it out. You'll have such a blast. But also, if you're a vet and you've been playing this for a long, long time, can y'all talk about how vets can better show off their moves and what that means for the overall strategy of their experience?
Your opponent's attacks, grapples and combos actually don't use reversals. Instead, you counter them with a breaker. So when you're doing a grapple or a combo on your opponent, they can counter that attack by pressing the same light, heavy, or grapple input against you. So those moves are countered with breakers. Everything else is countered with a reversal. So knowing what kind of attack you expect your opponent to perform can already prime you to know how you want to counter it. So there's already a mind game with that level. Then you have blocking, which is all new. If you hold down the reversal button, you enter a blocking stance, and that lets you withstand light, heavy, and running attacks. And then you can counterattack faster than your opponent can after blocking. You can also dodge with the right bumper. So you can kind of choose a direction and get out of the way really quickly if you time your dodge correctly, but it's higher risk than a block. And then when you're on the ground, you also can button mash to get up faster, or you can press right bumper to do a quick get up at the cost of some resource. So when you have all of those defensive options available to you, it makes when you're on defense, it's a lot more strategic, but also when you're on offense, you have to be careful with how you want to attack your opponent so that they don't counter you.
So our community has been speculating about the HUD and like guessing like what, these little glowing meters mean and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Jonathan, I'm going to let you be the first to break this down and break the news. And let's dive into the HUD and give the community some clarity here.
So our goal was to create a HUD that strips down all unnecessary aspects and simply gives the user the information that they need without distracting the user from the in-game action. So at the very top, you'll have the vitality meter, and this is basically your health bar. Below that, you'll find a special meter, which is a resource you want to spend to perform signatures, paybacks, or defensive actions. Finally, at the bottom is your finisher meter, where you can store up to 3 stocks.
So there's one thing that's missing that I think a lot of people are like, where's the reverse stock? Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit more about the changes we made there?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, obviously the biggest change that we made was removing the reversal stock from the HUD. We felt that 2K20's matches came down to how the users manage their reversal stock. We wanted to bring a bit more skill to a match by giving the users unlimited reversals, but making them a little bit more difficult to execute. In our internal matches with 2K22, we get wild swings and back and forth and a bunch of oh-so-close moments that we really feel make the match memorable. And in addition to that, we added a new stun meter that shows up on the characters when it's close to being filled. So we're really excited to show off our new HUD and for our users to play with all of the new additions and our streamlined approach.
Cool. Like one of the things that, at the end of the match where I'm like, in previous years or, iterations, once you basically knew once your opponent didn't have any reversal stock, all you had to do was hit your Sega finisher, match was over. That's not the case anymore, right? Like someone can just pull out like a reversal and this back and forth. And so Derek, can you talk about how strategy is incorporated into that part of this new mechanic?
Yeah, so with reversals no longer being on a limit, that opens up a lot of possibilities for how your opponent can counter you, right? Like they could always pull a reversal out, or if you're using combos and grapples, they could hit you with a breaker. But the stun meter that Jonathan mentioned earlier, that's one of your biggest tools for making sure that you can pull off your biggest moves without getting countered. So lighter attacks, while they don't do as much damage to the vitality of the opponent, they're better at filling your opponent's stun. And if you can get their stun meter filled, that's your opportunity to perform an attack without the risk of getting a reversal or a breaker.
Button mashing is back, y'all. Like I love it. It creates a whole new level of like intensity in those tight matches. And I got to practice my finger strength on that just so I can beat everyone down when this game goes online.
All right, y'all, we can go on and on, but unfortunately we're out of time. So to close out, now that we're nearing the end of production, what are y'all looking forward to most for the game, whether for your own experience or with players specifically? Let's start with Jason, then Derek, then Jonathan.
I'm really looking to deliver.
You two, get in the ring.
Technicality.
And some classic matches that were recreated for WWE 2K22. So I think people are going to be really excited about that.
Awesome. Well,